Okay, welcome to the week ahead. We are Monday, the 13th of May, 2024, and this is the week ahead brought to you by Financial Juice, a great news squawk service, and Earn to Trade, the best funded trader platform. All right, let's get into this. Really, what I want to cover here is, well, just a couple of things to kick off. The Fed hikes having smaller negative effect on the economy. Kind of an interesting, as always, a lovely little sharp and succinct daily spark from Apollo Academy Research here. Fed hikes having a smaller negative effect on the economy. Really talking about how 40% of the mortgages in North America don't have a mortgage, and then half of the mortgages outstanding in America are actually locked in at 4% rate or lower. All right, so this is all to do with, you know, really how it's quite easy to get corralled into, especially if you're on social media and watching the talking heads on News Talk, CNBC, Bloomberg, all this stuff, about how people are making, are finding it hard to make ends meet all the time and really trying to talk down the US economy and indeed other economies, but predominantly the US, right? But that's kind of something that you have to snap out of. And this kind of feeds again into a situation whereby the Financial Times are talking about this and The Economist. So I'm going to post a link to the Financial Times that I got from John Kemp, who's the senior energy editor at Reuters. I highly suggest subscribing to his free daily newsletter if not already. All right, the VWAP report for the week is out. So CPI cometh this week. As we have here highlighted today, the big one is Mester speaking this afternoon. Probably not that exciting. Tuesday, OPEC monthly report coming out, and then the PPIs out of the US. Powell will be speaking at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Wednesday, unfortunately, I won't be here. I have a family matter to attend, but that will be probably the bigger day this week because we get the PPIs and CPIs out of the US on Wednesday. So, all eyes will be on this for an increase in the inflation reading, as we did get one the last time out, 3.5% year on year. So, should this come in hotter again, I don't think it's going to be much of a problem for the markets. I think we are dialed in for new all-time highs here, to be honest, because as I talked about in the VWAP report, which you should get on your email, it's on Substack, go and find it. As I talked about, really, and last week's report as well, there kind of is no such thing as bad news in these markets right now. I mean, if the jobless figures come out, initial jobless figures come out as another rise this week, as it did last week, the market's going to bid up because essentially, Daddy Powell is standing by with, the big knife to cut. Should things get a bit out of hand. And what else I talked about, which is interesting, is we're probably going to hear a lot about stagflation, especially if CPI comes out hot and the initial jobless figure comes out hot. But you got to remember, growth has to be stalling as well to get that trio to make up the stagflation picture, right? And we just don't have weak GDP. Okay, maybe look to manufacturing data. Might put a little more focus on the manufacturing data. Producers' prices paid, which we'll get tomorrow, and all that stuff. But ultimately, look, I think these markets are dialed in for higher, higher, higher. And bad news is just, feeds more into the probability of a cut and sooner. And it takes us away from that higher for longer rhetoric. But either which way, even on the higher for longer, we are up, 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 and we continue to be. So, yeah, just wanted to anyway, direct you to the VWAP report for the week there, and we got a couple of technical levels to be looking at here on SPOOs, on the 30-minute VWAP, on the week VWAP, on the year. Some really nice trades. Maybe not last week on the prior value area for the SPOOs weekly, but certainly looking at weekly VWAP as you can see, if I just kind of dial in a bit here, and do go and check it out in the report. Like once when the data drops for initial jobless, we basically just had a small dip onto weekly VWAP and then rallied into the close on the week for the 2 days there. So, really nice stuff going on. So if you're not subscribed for free, you won't know. Anyway, that's enough about the. Looking at the calendar ahead, only tier one events here. So tomorrow PPIs and Fed's Powell. Wednesday core and headline CPI set to come out 3.4 on the year-on-year headline. Prior was 3.5. This comes out at 3.6. I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of talking heads basically. But net the market will probably take a dip and then a rally thereafter. Retail sales DOE as always on Wednesday. Thursday, the initial jobless at 220 expected. Last week's 231, which is a beat, and fully fed manufacturing. And then Friday, Eurozone CPIs year on year. So really concentrated on Wednesday, Thursday trade here. So that's it really for that. So let's get over here and have a little look at these markets. And we'll start off with the dollar. We're going to look at the dollar. Might talk a little bit about the VIX and how low the VIX is, and then we'll look at SPOs, gold, and oil. So looking at Daddy Dollar here, going into Dixie. This, let's simplify this. We're looking at quarterly view up here. We always do like to keep the yearly up, right? So I had been talking about how we'd broken out over the year here, and there was a lot of auctioning to do in this area, and this is sort of the point of control of this all prior area. So I think there's a lot of distribution trade to come above here, but right now, we're not in that environment where we need to be crowding into the dollar for the risk. There's no risk, right? And so we're kind of dissipating back down here on the dollar below quarterly view up, which is high of day. I would expect a certain amount of buyers to come in probably, on a new low of day here on the yearly PVAH. But net, given the selling that we've broadly seen up here on the 30-minute, I don't think there's a huge amount of trade to pick this back up and come down. And so, I think ultimately we could just kind of look at the quarterly for now, and looking at the yearly. So this is kind of it here, right? So, we could be looking at supports in around the 104.7s and so on and so forth. But ultimately, that's no use, not too much use, I should say, if you're day trading. So we kind of go into the 30-minute here, and what we can see is utilizing a monthly view up. So we've kind of gone sideways for the last week here on the Dixie, but ultimately, I think once we trade down a little bit here, there'd be that yearly PVAH bit of buying initially, but because we're sort of balancing down outside of the prior day's auction area, and broadly speaking, there's kind of like 2 day, Friday and then ETH trade today so far. We're kind of really getting imbalanced down here, and so I think ultimately we're going to fall back down because what risk, right? Until we get to CPIs and initial jobless, then we can start to talk about risks and potentially, flight into the dollar, flight not into the dollar. But for now, today, Monday, not much to be done here. Little look at the VIX. Hopefully I've chart up. Put my data last week. Here we go. Yeah. So on the VIX, I mean, net, we are super low here, man. We are super low on the VIX. I mean, it's been a while. 13.5. Last time we were down here was actually in February. And it did have a good February on these markets. So anyway, looking on the SPOs, I'm not going to cross on all equities today, but here really on the S&P 500, if we look at the yearly, and do go and reference the VWAP report for this one, but if we just kind of go to automatic here, and what I find interesting about this market is sort of a shelf top here from the high the 11th of March this year. That we kind of struggled to get over on Friday, put in a lot of excess on the high, put in a doji. I think this market's just going to try and punch a new high here, and so the immediate sort of area for it to go to would be see this just little supply area here, and then demand came in on the pullback, and then we came down. So that's kind of why we had Friday's high there. Well, for me anyway. But I think next stop up 5280s and beyond, to infinity and beyond. I think here, as long as we don't have horrendously hot CPIs and horrendously bulging initial jobless claims, because then really going to be a focus on the word stagflation, right? And no one wants that. So, what are the trades really I'd be looking at for me on SPOOs this week? I'd be looking at what's called a BBB long here of the PVAH on the week, right? Look at that. Obviously, great trading to be done back here last week over the initial jobless claims. Buying that on VWAP there, up she goes. Obviously I don't have the day-to-day structures here, but there was really nice edge to be had to get on long with this one. Unfortunately, I didn't get to fully trade this data event. I just had to have a little quick look at the day. All right, so yeah, look, we're imbalance up, and I think we can keep going. 52.80s quarter. Where's your risk? Well, if you're buying up here, your risk is already below the 52.46s, really, I would say. A little pullback into here, could be rebought. But ultimately, I think, the trade I'd be looking for here is a long WPVH 52.38.11s. Could potentially look for supports on the yearly plus 152.15s, but I'd like something here, and the faster it pulls back into here the better. We might not have the volatility to cause that today, so the best you might get is a pullback onto like the 52.46s or WVWAP. All right. There are about 4 key higher time frames that you need to be aware of, and you could take your trades in and around those. You don't just have to use this weekly one, right? And gold, yeah, gold kind of have been on the mind of gold's kind of just recovering after what has been a red hot rally supported by a ton of Asian buying here. So we're looking at the quarterly view up. It's not that helpful, I have to say. Looking at the yearly, um, I think we're really kind of getting contained a little bit on the re-rally here. But look, if equities are going to keep rallying up, well, gold will want to move with. All right, and so you're kind of getting a little bit of a trend here that needs to be monitored going forward, and that is confident with PVAH today, daily PVAH on gold today. If we then zoom in, have a little look, you see on the weekly structure here, you're already seeing some of those sellers coming in at weekly VWAP. What I like is a pullback here onto the 2364s. Now, you don't want equities going absolutely apeshit crazy to the upside while we're here. You probably want to see equities kind of, ending a little bit of a decent run up here. To then short this BPB short on PVAL with gold on confident with the 2364s. So I'll turn that red. But I like that, and down. There could also be some sellers at the WPVH 2357s, but really nice imbalance pullback short here on weekly view up so far. Target to the downside, actually largest order on the book at the moment, 2348s for gold, as you can see here by my DOM volume. But ultimately, if this auction closes below 2349s, I think we're just going to keep going back down to 2324s. And that's probably going to be indicative also of not a great day out on equities, but I just don't see that level of volatility coming today. Maybe tomorrow, most probably Wednesday, Thursday. That is gold, right? And then to finish off on Daddy Oil, yeah, look, I mean, there's beaten up and then there's beaten up, and so buyers have really just been beaten up, right? And so, ultimately here, just want to keep an eye out for pullbacks against the QPVAH. So you've seen here Friday, right? If I just jump into the 30-minute, okay. So I'd highlighted a couple of places where you would trade against WPVAL, right, and WVWAP, right, on this. But you see, generally the selling is quite sustained on Thursday here in oil, right? But Friday, we were gapped up on the overnight, and then just tried to hold over. But once we kind of got into the pit session on equities, then it was just a rip and a slip to the downside here for oil. So we're kind of licking our wounds, coming back this was support, sort of a line in the sand support for me. It's about 79.29, which is pretty much WPVH confident with, and then the high is 76, or sorry, 79.61s here, QPVAH. So I see there being trouble ahead. Should we, reverse back up in here on oil now? I think there would be an attempt of sellers to take it here at the 79.29s. And I think the best op for a short would potentially be here at the 79.61s. And I'm kind of just going to wait for those. I think if we trade back down to the WP belt before we trade up here, then I'm buyer for that weekly auction to restart. And I just don't feel like it's had a clean start at the moment. So yeah, I'd be buyer there first, then up to here, and then I'd be looking for shorts potentially to come down. But we take it one day at a time. All right, keep it tight out there. Have a good session. See you later.